Hey, Juan.
All right. I believe this means that we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sizes and sorts and persuasions, welcome to another Monday morning tech chat show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, the SGG of this podcast channel, the SomeGadgetGuy. The QA stands for question and answer because this is going to be an interactive conversation with those of you who are watching us live. And you may have noticed that while we're streaming this on YouTube, there's another little box down here. He's enjoying some tasty orange beverage that none other than Mr. Enobong Etteh from Booredatwork is going to join us to chat some news. How's it going, buddy boy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was going to say you might want to change the title to Tech News with Booredatwork because nobody knows my real name.
Well, I know who you are, and you are not nameless to me, good sir. It's already live. So we're going with it. It's live.
Okay. All right. I mean, just for SEO purposes, you know how that goes.
So, Enobong, we always kick off with a little housekeeping, and I felt this was critical. I feel like it's super important, probably the most important tech story of recent memory. And that's how wrong your photographer friend got the Nokia 9 and that he's a Samsung shell and that this is the worst thing that's ever befallen any kind of tech commentary. Would you care to comment on the disaster of a camera review that you produced for this phone?
I mean, first of all, it was a 15-minute video. So I'm looking at this camera. I'm still looking at my my A7 III, which is not working with Camlink, but it was a 15-minute review, and a lot of people forgot the fact that we focused on the raw photos, and they focused on the last photo which we looked at, which was a comparison with the Galaxy S10 Plus. Now, this wasn't meant to be a full comparison, but the idea was to basically say, hey, look, I don't see a drastic difference here. They're both good, but I just don't see a drastic difference with this. Now, maybe some of the explanation wasn't as finite as in depth, but the name calling, which I am used to, is, it's YouTube. I felt offended that somebody who I'm not paying, helps me out, isn't paid by anyone just because he's a photographer and he loves cameras. wanted to showcase, what he thought of this. And we've done this for a whole year. This was like the 1 year
No, this
anniversary.
is a series I've very much enjoyed watching because, this is the thing that I think a lot of us might get too caught up in is I have a very singular point of view. I try to be very upfront with my bias, but I don't feel like you really get a good sense of what these things can do unless you can kind of Lego piece together some different perspectives, right?
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I mean, so to clarify all this, what we are going to do is we're going to be doing a comparison between the Nokia 9, the Galaxy S10, the Huawei P30 Pro, the Pixel 3, and a Canon DSLR camera to tell you who takes the best shots. And I can tell you the winner right now. But anyway, so that you guys get a good idea, because I think a lot of people misunderstand what you get from a smartphone and what you get from a camera. And I think that's a very good way to look at it from a very massive perspective of what scales you get from each device all the way through. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully that will solve all the problems that we had. And
well, but I mean, see, that's the thing is in these videos, it's really hard to try and claim that there's some sort of objectivity or that you're being comprehensive. And even for me, when I put together like a 20-minute camera review, I've got to take a few things for granted in that commentary. When I was watching the video, there was only one part that I felt like maybe this could have dealt with a bit more of an explanation when he was talking about detail, like sort of the depth of field, but the length of field, more like, this phone has a longer depth of field. This phone has more details in the out of focus areas of the shot. This phone has fewer, but then not really explaining the differences between Samsung's variable aperture and the fixed aperture, and then what you can do with depth mapping on the Nokia 9. And I mean, in a 15-minute video, for me to walk away and go, oh, I just kind of wish he talked about that a little bit more. I felt like that was a really good way to share some opinions on what they're seeing there. But of course, YouTube is full of experts, and I always forget that, and that, I'm probably going to be wrong.
I mean, people tend to forget. The funniest part, as I said to you earlier, was that a lot of people were sharing your review as a rebuttal to what we were talking about, and I was like, I've watched this video. It's the same thing.
Well, and also because like any video that you would share from me right now is me on the video saying, here's why I'm not doing a review. This is not a review.
Exactly. I mean, let's just move away from that. Let's get to some topics here. Because I think it's just fun.
Let's jump into some actual news. Just as a heads up, I'm going to try to make this work. I do not know if it will. Obviously there's an Apple Keynote that's going to be firing up in about 45 minutes. If we can keep some of it streaming without my entire system melting down, then we'll give it a shot. But I don't know if that's going to be possible. It's one of the reasons why we're starting this off a little bit late, was because of just how terrible Hangouts and live streaming and co-streaming are. There still isn't a great solution for doing this stuff well. So, and my little bit of housekeeping. If I go into Windows Capture, I have my 2-week review of the Nokia 9, which is obviously not the final word, which you should never trust a review that's only like a week into using a product, but just some commentary on what you can expect from the phone, how it performs under sort of daily operation. And then that should be going live either this afternoon or this evening. So
one more quick one. Everybody,
sure.
On April 5th, go watch Shazam. It is absolutely fantastic. It is exactly like the New 52 comic book.
Oh,
exactly. To the T.
Well, that's actually kind of exciting if DC is starting to figure out that we like those stories.
I mean, not every story is adaptable. Look, I'm going to say this out there. If you're watching this, don't go and see Captain Marvel. It is trash. I don't care what anybody says. It is the worst Marvel movie I've ever watched, and I was very disappointed. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue.
Well, and I also have a comment here from the nitpicker. I hope Juan's hoodie is ironic since it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong.
Pronounced bouquet. I mean,
bouquet.
I mean, I don't know, depth of field. Does this call it that?
No, I'm gonna pull it up right now. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Hold on, and let me know if you guys can hear this.
Bokeh. Bokeh.
Is that my voice?
Bokeh.
That sounded like my voice though.
Bokeh.
Yeah, Merriam-Webster's, they sampled your voice a couple of years back, and now they use your voice for all of the definitions on the dictionary.
Damn, I didn't get paid for that one.
So I don't know. Maybe you say it wrong in Germany.
Yeah,
but basically, what I'm trying to get at is it's not like those terrible Apple and Verizon commercials where this woman will yell at another woman for mouthing her son. Did you mouth my son? Did you boca my son? And that's boca is mouth in Spanish. It's not a photography term. So bokeh. Bokeh. All right, let's get into some news.
All right.
All right. So this one actually, we're going to kick off with a story that you wanted to talk about because you're such a Samsung fanboy over at Booredatwork. And that was a joke. It was a terrible joke. But let me click into a screen share here real quick. NBC shot an entire episode of The Tonight Show using the Galaxy S10 Plus. Enobong, walk us through this story because you submitted it. This is actually kind of exciting from sort of a content production and mobile strategy.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where one, Samsung is trying to double down on the very good sales they've had on the S10, S10 Plus, very good buzz. They know there's going to be a bunch of announcements coming from Huawei and a few other manufacturers, as well as Apple in the mix, right? So why not do something big and bold? And the fact that if this is true, and it really is, and we get some background, like, behind the scenes stuff on this, it shows how good of a camera, or at least how good cameras have come. We've known this to a certain degree, but them shooting an entire episode means they use 4 or 5 cameras, right? At different locations and things like that. So, and it's also good PR, Google did something like this for the Pixel. They didn't shoot, but they sponsored the Jimmy Kimmel show. I actually went to that last year, and there was more advertising, around the place. Samsung is going, no, we can actually use it for production. And here's the example, which is something I would love to see from LG, the prosumer camera that they have in their V series, or even the G series as well. So, I just think it's a really nice way to showcase the performance of a device.
I think it's kind of curious that they're making this push right now, because we're also getting that news. You've been playing with the Galaxy S10. I'm sure the video functionality is great from an auto mode perspective, but have they restored manual controls?
No, they haven't.
So it's a great proof of concept. Look how great these cameras are. You can't do anything like this because you don't run a major television studio. And even if you were trying to shoot content on your own, we're not going to let you dig into those types of settings anymore. You're right. I would love to see LG take a stab like this, but we all know that LG's sort of marketing and messaging is never cohesive. They never really get on what makes their phone special. They sort of leave it all up to us YouTubers to try and tell their story. So, I was watching through some of the clips and it looks great. I think this is another sort of example of phone cameras have gotten to a point where really the thing that might hold your quality back is infrastructure. Do you have lights? Do you have makeup artists? Do you have someone running good sound? You can pop in an HDMI output, run that into some sort of control deck, and the camera will probably do just fine in a professional studio.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think there are a few things that need to happen on the S10 camera for updates. One of them is, like you said, video in Pro mode, being able to use all 3 lenses, or at least the wide angle lens in Pro mode. And also a dedicated night mode, because I think Samsung is slowly lagging behind in nighttime photography compared to the Huawei's, the Pixels, even Apple to a certain degree, because of HDR Plus, right, is what they have.
I mean, it is really silly when you've got. I mean, I know people say it's garbage. It's not garbage. It's actually pretty good, but it's kind of silly when OnePlus has a reasonable facsimile of a dedicated night mode, and Samsung can't give us a button to like activate that mode. We get all kinds of like AR stickers though.
Yeah, I mean, I think they will. I think they will at some point once they see what the competition has to offer, right? And if they keep getting hammered on that, it's going to come with the S10, or at least the Note might probably have that update in there. So, we'll see.
It would be nice. So, but anyway, just kind of a fun little look at what's happening here. The one thing I will credit Samsung for is that they're at least taking this conversation of like mobile video production seriously. Talking about editing, talking about capturing, doing a higher degree of work for mobile devices. It's something I've been saying for the last couple of years, and now people seem to think it's a good idea. That makes me a little frustrated because I've been doing it. And now they're like, oh, well, no, Samsung said it's possible. Now I guess I could take it seriously, too. But like, at least that idea is carrying over.
I mean, sorry, when did you start doing it again? I really can't remember.
Okay, so let's see.
About 3.5 years ago.
So I started talking about using your phone for more desktop style stuff right around the launch of the V10. So the V10, because it had a larger screen, had a little Bluetooth keyboard. I was like writing scripts. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff like that. But I think when I really started pushing that idea mainstream, and I don't think anyone's ever found all of the videos that I cut for Pocket Now off of my phone. But the first one that I really did from soup to nuts, shot everything, voiced everything, recorded everything, edited everything, and uploaded a 4K video was the Oppo R11 launch. So right before we got the OnePlus 5.
Okay.
And since then, it's sort of a fun Easter egg game. If you go back to my tenure at Pocket Now, I think there are a dozen videos. No, not quite that many. Probably more like 9 or 10 that were completely created, edited, rendered on phones. But I never really pointed them out because then people always do I could totally tell that came from a phone. And you're like, no, you're an idiot.
Well, I mean, then let's play the little SEO game then, right? I think that's what you should do. I
should go back and out them now.
Not out them now, but also your reviews for that device is, Galaxy S10 review, short recorded on Galaxy S10, title, done.
Well, I just shared because I have that little pet project, Glowing Rectangles. So there's a creator, Walt Knows Tech. Is that his YouTube channel? He put out he just recently put out last week a V40 review, and it was entirely shot on the V20 and edited on the V40. And his work is already like kind of putting mine to shame. Like it's really good. So maybe I'll link that in the show notes later, but very, very impressive. And again, this notion that like it doesn't really hold you back. I'm glad. Ultimately, I'm glad that this is finally starting to permeate, but it is frustrating that like I've been here for a while, guys. This has been real for a while. You can do it. All right, moving on. I'm really glad that you're on the stream to talk about this. This is probably one of the biggest news pieces of last week, and probably one of the bigger trends that we're going to see a lot of game developers, game publishers trying to jump on, and that's the notion of some type of game streaming service, and not just can you stream a game from your PC to your TV. Can we create the Netflix of gaming? And so we got the first word out of GDC on Google. How have you pronounced this?
It's pronounced Stadia.
Stadia. Okay, yeah. I said that on the Newegg live stream, and someone said I was wrong.
No,
and
it's a plural for stadium.
So that's what I thought. And it's not like bokeh where I know I'm absolutely correct and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
I kind of had to stop for a second. And is it Stadia? Okay. So what were your reactions to this news of Google jumping into the gaming market with a Netflix style streaming service?
So let me start by saying I was one of their beta testers last year.
You did
with
Project Stream.
Project Stream with Assassin's Creed. I was able to do 1080p. I have a super fast connection. It still dropped quite a bit. It didn't slow down gameplay. Image quality dropped. When you get into intense fights, it was glitchy at times. It was still playable. It was fine. And from some of the videos I saw, there were some stuttering, there was some jumps. So my reaction was when I was listening to this, a lot of the things they promised, I honestly went, I have to wait and see, Google. I don't trust you on this. Even though Google Google's not known for streaming. They're known for, especially with YouTube, it's downloaded content, uploading. Hangouts itself, we can barely do 720p on Hangouts. Right.
Well, and also it's for all the people that are in there. This is a Hangouts issue with my audio being
Out of sync.
half-second delay. So here's the thing: if I fix the sync, I turn into robot voice. Don't know why that works, but that's Hangouts. This doesn't happen when I co-stream through some other type of service. It's always been Hangouts.
Yeah, so that is the aspect there. Now, what Google did was they did what they always do, which annoyed me with the announcement of this service. Excuse me. They had a demo. It was, for people in GDC. It wasn't using their own hardware. It was also, they told us a lot of cool things about it. They didn't tell us about games, how you either buy or pay for them. They didn't tell us the price of streaming. They told us they eventually would do 4K and 8K. And yet they're telling us minimum is 25 megabits per second, which is literally a lie. I'll just put it out there for you, just because I have tried NVIDIA service, and for me to enjoy that, I have to do either 75 or 100 to push all the way through. So I'm just saying that those are many things that they kind of put it out there without actually quantifying. And also they've not given us a date for the service. Now, granted, them being in the space means that people like Microsoft, who's going to be launching theirs around E3, will have to come up with some more, factual and more poignant things for us to go, this is exciting. And then people like NVIDIA, who already started, can give us something more finite, as well as also the company called Shadow. So I like the competition aspect of it, that there are more people in this space here. But I'm very skeptical, because one of the biggest things we were joking on Twitter was, when is Google going to close down the service? And will I have my games after they close it down?
That was absolutely, this is one of those, like, I kind of miss our weekly podcast, is because that's immediately the reaction I had, is I don't trust Google to have any staying power. I don't trust Google to have any focus. Really, what I hope from this, and let me ask your sort of thoughts on this too, is I really hope from this that Google shows us a proof of concept that someone else does better in 2020 or 2021. That's really what I hope to see, is they show us that it can be done, that it can be done well, and then Amazon builds it into Twitch, or Microsoft makes it a part of Game Pass. And then it's a real service somewhere else. But at least Google showed us that, like, the bare bones infrastructure idea is sound.
So I believe I see the person who I'm really waiting for is Microsoft. Not because I do like the Xbox or things like that, is because what they've been doing for the last 3 years in terms of background work. So the whole idea of cross-platform play, Microsoft has been pushing that. Not because Microsoft necessarily needs it or wants it. It's because they've been pushing it from the server side, is that most of those games are on Azure servers, which has been kicking ass lately. So they have that infrastructure in the backbone to say, this is how this will work. They introduced Game Pass, and the idea, so you have a game subscription model, right? Where you're getting as much games as possible for a flat amount of fees. So if they can continue to ramp up more titles there, that covers the cost of games already. I know I'm paying $9.99 a month for games. It doesn't matter. And then my streaming service will cost me another, let's call it $15. So it's like a $20 service altogether if you do, a combination for it. So on that aspect, That's also there. Then there's the aspect of one thing Google cannot provide, and the only person who will do it better is Sony, is games. Games. So why would I go to Stadia to do a streaming service if NVIDIA would let me link my Steam, my Overwatch is under Blizzard, right? All my Blizzard games, my Steam
and
games.
you have Epic and
Yeah,
everything.
and Epic, all under NVIDIA. You bring all your services into one and you're done. Or you can do Microsoft where okay, every single Microsoft game plus all those third parties anyway will be there. So why do I go to Stadia where I'm going, unless Sony comes out, then I can go, okay, I get it. I'm getting God of War, I'm getting all that, or Nintendo, where you can go, I find Mario, it's all done. And that's where they fall into place where they need to develop a library, which I don't think anyone will care about this day and age, to a large degree.
Or the developing a library that's just not replicated from someone else's service.
Mm-hmm.
It's do we trust, like, Apple has been making this play for mobile gaming for a while, for several generations of iPhone and iPad. They've always had a part of their keynote where they go off and they show console quality graphics, but they don't have the types of titles that generate excitement over exclusivity, right? A game that's on the iPad just doesn't light up gamers in the same way that like a Switch title might, if we're talking about mobile. And so I find like Google is even a step further behind there.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, and the reason why I said I'm really excited about Microsoft, right? Rumor is that Xbox Live will be coming to the Switch.
Yeah.
The first title is going to take advantage of that is Cuphead, which is a very Nintendo-esque title. Like, to me, that's them thinking well and going, okay, we may not convince everybody, but definitely Cuphead's going to get them excited. And this is how we get them in. And I'm going, these people, I think, understand that they have to build that, layer behind so that when it starts, you can go, oh, I'm already there. I have the games and I have the service. And Microsoft can always say, we've built Xbox Live. We know we are the masters of console gaming online service. Nobody has done it better than us. So join us on that journey in there. So I think that's where Google, it's going to be difficult for them, I think.
Well, and also, I just feel like there's a psychological barrier that Microsoft has already pushed through with Game Pass. Like, you get this game as part of Game Pass. A lot of people like, you get this game for free with Game Pass. You're like, no, you're paying for it. But when titles kind of fall into and fall out of Game Pass, when there's exclusivities, when there's like a Netflix style licensing agreement, that I feel we've already fixed that. We've already addressed that, and we know sort of the value for dollar. And that's where I think this whole Google approach is completely backwards. We've got this amazing backbone. We've got this amazing infrastructure of data centers and servers. And if you have fast internet, you don't live in Louisville where we just pulled up Google Fiber, then you can use this amazing service. Well, what's on the service? Oh. I'm just like, it seems completely like they've focused on exactly what we shouldn't have to care about. Right? We shouldn't have to care about the streaming. You don't care about the Netflix data servers that enable your streaming. You care about what content is on Netflix. And that's where, again, I feel like this is already in massive trouble for Google if gamers are going to be taking it seriously over the next couple of years.
True. And even the other thing, too, is that you look at the fact that Microsoft is launching an all-digital Xbox. That is an Xbox that will cost probably $150.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, $150. Yes, it's probably going to have just a regular hard drive, not an SSD. So it's slower, but probably a terabyte, $150 Xbox. By Christmas, it's $100.
Well, and also, I just keep thinking Microsoft needs that Trojan horse. You get $150 Xbox, and then maybe when a game streaming Game Pass like service arrives, if you live in an area with decent data, then the hard drive is never touched, or it's very rarely accessed. And most of this is happening over some sort of networked connection. Like that to me is the brilliant Trojan horse that they could pull off, and something that I think that they've been wanting to do for a while. Just we're finally at that point where we can fight like Walmart for not having boxes on shelves to buy video games.
Exactly. But the other thing too is, I don't know how good that tech is now, but the ability to basically use your hard drive as a buffering system for that game, where even though you don't need the hard drive there, but because you've got this massive hard drive and you know you're playing, it can constantly dump data in and out for you much better, so that when it gets into choke points, there's something it's playing off the physical drive as well, so that you have a better gameplay experience down the line. So it's going to be very interesting, I think. But I'm excited to see what pans out with that, just because the ability for me to, what I really would like is for, because now I'm traveling a lot, is for internet on planes to be faster. Then I can just whip out my foldable device, right?
I want internet on planes to be faster, just so I can like access Twitter with any reliability.
No.
I never understood. Every time I've paid for like data on a plane, like people sitting next to me streaming 4K video, me trying to load like my Discord. And
Do you know what it is though? It's the timing. So JetBlue has one of the fastest ones, right?
Of course, you've got the inside scoop on.
I mean, I usually take JetBlue whenever I come to the West Coast. So what I do is, for instance, on my Galaxy device, it's remembered, right? So basically, by the time we start climbing, and once the plane is doing this and slowly leveling out, start signing in. At that point, you are one of the first people on the network, and next minute, before you know it, you can stream anything you want to. The thing is that I noticed that because whenever they reset the network, right, and they say, hey guys, we're having issues with the Wi-Fi, we're going to reset it. Everybody just goes, it's not working, and nobody gets on. And then it's just super fast. You're like, like I'm watching Netflix and I was downloading the video.
What you're telling me is, as I'm getting on the plane, I need to slip the pilot like 20 and just say, hey, just interrupt the Wi-Fi for a minute once we get to cruising altitude.
Actually, it's the stewardess in the front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just make sure that you actually give her a 20 and say, hey, look, thank you very much. I appreciate your service. Just hit that Wi-Fi off switch for a second.
I've got an Abraham Lincoln with your name on it. So here, there was another article that I wanted to, again, sort of following the GDC announcement from Google here. This is coming by way of Variety. I'm just going to go into screen share here for a second. Google Stadia is a net neutrality nightmare. At the Game Developers Conference this year, Google announced that it has taken up the long and ever-lengthening dream of the video game streaming service. I'm going to skip into this article. While the internet commentary parade has already made loud the numerous unknowns and uncertainties, from pricing to game library to concerns over internet latency and speed requirements, what's truly disconcerting is the unspoken assumption that foregoing hardware is a net positive for consumers and creators alike. Ultimately, the adult in all of us is sick of having to repurchase video game boxes just to keep up. But if a PC is like a puppy and how it brings you some kind of joy or entertainment, you have to ask yourself one question: would you rent a puppy? I thought this was just sort of an interesting sort of sideways look. This is by Trevor Rubin on Variety. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts too, because one of the major aspects of game streaming is the pipe that gets the internet to your house. And we're still seeing, what is it? It's Spectrum. I'm on Spectrum. The Time Warner lawsuit on the East Coast, where they were throttling gaming services and gaming connections. We still routinely see services hammered that stream video. Well, this is going to be an even a more aggressive data connection that consumers are going to need to have to keep game streams going, especially once you start getting into like co-op play. And can you live stream a game stream on something like Twitch? And then you need upload and download speeds and maxing them out for a residential internet connection. Do you think that that's going to be, because I personally think this is probably going to be one of the biggest hurdles for these types of services, making it out of cities and into more suburban and rural areas?
No, I definitely agree. I think it's going to be challenging unless we have net neutrality laws in place to curb some of the issues that we're going to have down the line. Like you're saying, I mean, you're right. You know, one of the things that Google talked about was, hey, as a streamer on our service with YouTube, this is the best thing I like, because you know, you can have your Street Fighter tournaments with fans and people will line up to play against you, right? That's pretty cool. But then you're streaming that, and then you also have people waiting to join you. You know, there's buffer times and all that kind of stuff. And your internet provider, and you're going to be using more chunks of internet because you're streaming games, not, you know, so whatever cap we have at home, I don't know what that cap is, usually like 350 gigabytes a month, 500 gigabytes a month. You most likely will blow through a lot of that because you're streaming games. And if you game as a gamer, even just a fraction of what you do on your console or home, you're going to blow through that data cap, because it's not the 50 gigabytes that you get as a disk. You're just pushing data back and forth on a much different levels. So that one, it's going to affect the streaming companies, but then it's going to affect you. Forget the streaming companies on that aspect. It's really going to affect me that I'm going to get a letter from Verizon Fios saying like, hey, you just hit like 600 gigabytes this month. Like, you might have to up your payments, but you're like, I've never done that before in my life. And you're like, yeah, your streaming service is really killing you. You know, that's the consumer side. But you're definitely right. I think those pipelines, and what's going to happen is they're going to force those prices on consumers. They're not going to face those prices themselves, and you're going to see the services at least initially be cheap, and then it keeps rising and rising, and you know, before you know it, you're paying $50 for a gaming service, which may be
numerous subscription services that we're all going to be.
Which we'll be talking about later with Apple, right? Of course, at some point, yeah. So that's the thing.
That's also another part of this article in Variety that they loosely touch on too, is just this lobster pot effect, where, you know, Netflix started out for a very nominal monthly fee, and now, well, it's a little bit more if you want 4K. We're going to be bumping up prices again here, HDR, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it's what Netflix is now twice what I used to pay for when I first signed on to Netflix as a streaming service, which is still, I feel, a reasonable value for the content that's on that platform. But we're going to be looking at that for numerous media streaming services, now numerous gaming streaming services. And I guess, do we ever sit back and have that conversation that we don't really own anything? You lease your phone, you lease your content, you lease your games, you're just subscribed to tons and tons and tons of services, but that you don't really own anything. You don't really have a library.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Tim Cook said it earlier this year when he did his revision. He said Apple will Apple will focus on services to make more money. And, you know, everyone is, I mean, I hate to jump to this Apple discussion, or maybe we can at this point, is that everyone is looking at this Apple announcement as the next holy grail for the company. I'm sitting down here going, I really don't care, because everybody's already doing this. It's just that Apple is flaunting its user base as a template to pull in a lot of people. Let's be frank. Today, Apple announced that HBO, Showtime, Stars will be available through its service. You can add it for most likely $9.99, as all reports say, which is $5 cheaper, which means everybody will drop their prices down as well. So that's just going to happen. And then I'm sitting down going, okay, that's fine and dandy, but Apple, do you have original content that I care about? They say they're spending $1 billion. Netflix spends 12. Just to give you, to give you a disparity. That's why Netflix has something every month for me to go, ooh, this is exciting. Or if I ask Juan's like, oh, I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, that's neat. And then
they go and cancel one day at a time, and like, I need my goofy sitcom laugh track fix. Come on, guys.
But they'll give you another one. There'll be another one that comes through.
Oh no, there will be another show, but it's like, I liked One Day at a Time.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
Take on a classic TV sitcom. It was fine.
But the thing here is if you look at it, there's an announcement that they're doing the TV service. They're now bringing back a new subscription service, and then there's going to be a game subscription service as well. And Apple is triple downing on services on its three key sectors: gaming, entertainment, and news, to tell its users, you're going to be stuck in our ecosystem forever. And That is the plan, which I am a bit disappointed if it turns out this way, because it really says the company is not innovating. It's they are going to protect the market share they have as tightly as possible and fight it to the the nth degree, because we've got 100 million users, right? Potentially. So therefore, those 100 million users can use our service. And what's going to happen? Apple will take 30% if they sign up from that.
Because aren't we seeing this also dovetail with their news services too? Like publishers are looking at what like magazine style subscription and distribution could be performed on Apple's various platforms. I kind of feel like, because I want to say it was mid, we were just starting to kick off Apple's streaming solutions for music. And that to me seems to be a very Tim Cook motivated vision, right? It's not that they're not.
You used to say it best, right? Operations guy.
Operations guy, exactly. It's not that I see. This is what's so funny is like this is what innovation looks like from an operations guy, because we are entering into a hardware plateau. High-end smartphones have all kind of peaked. We're seeing sales not only level off but start to dip, and so from that being the problem, you look at a dude like Tim Cook, and he's amazing at solving those kinds of problems with other types of content or distribution deals, right? And so that to me, it makes perfect sense. It's just not exciting if you're a hardware geek like we are. Like I want to see Apple drive what comes after the smartphone. I want to see them develop what, like if it's smart glasses or augmented reality or something like that, that's where I want to see Apple go. But from a financial standpoint, this is where I think Tim Cook's vision is, how do you extract more money out of every single consumer on your platform? Well,
yeah, but here's my thing. It's not that he's doing all these things and it's not innovative. It's the fact that they didn't do it first, second, third, or fourth. Right? That's one, because Apple was always behind, but they were never this far behind. The reason I say that is that as much as this service sounds nice and sexy, Hulu said not Hulu. Netflix and Hulu are not part of this. That's the first thing. Netflix is like, we don't need to be. And then there's the bigger fish outside, which they said Apple was trying to buy, which is Disney, which that would never happen. It's just too big for anyone in Congress, especially this Congress, to allow it. Right?
Especially after the Fox merger, which we have a little story that we're going to talk
on that one. So you're looking at a situation where Disney service is coming out, and I guarantee you everybody's going to have that service for two reasons. One, you have a daughter, you have a child. Disney service basically covers that. Two, there's Star Wars and all Marvel stuff. Everybody watches that stuff as well. So going back to the whole conversation of subscription fatigue, right? I go, okay, I have Netflix. Netflix has almost carved this space and said, we will always be here. Now, who else am I going to get? I got to get my Disney. And the third person who sneaks in will most likely, win the day, but it might not be Apple, because you're looking at, do I want to get that real mature content with HBO? Or do I want to get a mix with Hulu where I get a lot of TV content as well?
And like sort of a dark horse too. Like I think my wife will probably want us to stick with YouTube TV.
There you go.
She likes having a traditional DVR style. Yeah. For TV stuff. So it's not very likely that we'll be jumping on the Apple services bandwagon. Do you think that people who are using iPhones, iPads, Macs, that this is really going to be something that they buy into the ecosystem argument? Like, do you think that there's something Apple could do for distribution of content that hasn't already been done? Because it's okay if they're late. I'm like, Apple's always been late, but sometimes Apple's late and you get AirPods and that's gross. But sometimes Apple's late and you get the Apple Watch and that's actually kind of cool, right? That's actually a good step forward for smartwatches. Do you think that there's something that they could do for distribution here that will actually be a benefit for Apple consumers, people in the Apple ecosystem?
For the very base, super lazy Apple customers, yeah. Being able to have all that. No, but it is true. Being able to have all that.
No, I am having a flashback to when I said like, oh, I thought the Apple TV announcement was okay, and Warren yelling at me, telling me I was wrong. But but please continue. That's just me, like, you know, PTSD in our former podcast.
And being able to use AirPlay to now push it to your Samsung TV. That deal came in earlier this year, and LG TVs and the rest of them. That's something that I think will be beneficial. I think we'll see about 25% of the Apple user base, so let's call it 25 million people, will eventually fully jump on that service. I think it starts boiling down when it comes to adding other things. And the two other things on the outside are Netflix and Disney. Like literally, forget everybody else. That is now their main competitors that they're going to fight against. And Apple needs to show me original content that I care about on a constant basis, in the next 3 years. And can they do that continually? Netflix went out and bought its own comic book universe so they could just make comic book movies. The Netflix has done this awesome thing with sci-fi movies. They do, they had the Sandra Bullock one. They had another one with Forrest Whitaker where they take a story point about just one individual. There's some big chaos going on. They don't tell us what the chaos is. It's all about the journey of that individual to a safe point. So it is cheap, it is effective, and it makes for fun, which is why Bird Box technically made $350 million for the weekend it played. And you would say how? They say they had 35 million streams. So it might be multiple people, but if you just multiply that by 10, that's $10 for a movie ticket. That's 350 million. That's a massive opening weekend. They were excited about it, knew that, okay, we have people with something that we can do. They just did Triple Threat with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And so they have this stuff on a roll, and can Apple do some of that? And we know Disney already. Disney's coming out with 3 Marvel shows, 2 Star Wars, and now you're talking about KOTOR coming out as a show, Knights of the Old Republic. I'm like, call me in.
And also like Disney reviving LucasArts, because apparently EA can't even get another game out. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll watch KOTOR. I'd rather play it, but EA can't do that.
Yeah, EA.
It's very frustrating. We got a good comment in here from Sharil Abdul Rahman. My only beef with subscription services, we will get regional locks, as in only certain countries will have access to certain content. Licensing sucks. We talked about this story when titles were sort of disappearing from the iTunes movie store. And this was sort of a story where someone had moved, changed regions, then their purchases just disappeared.
Well, there's one company that you will never get that from. Disney.
There's such a scary monolith of a company now. Like, I want to try and find ways of shopping around them, but I'm not entirely sure it's possible.
So I mean, now Disney has almost, like you said, now they have almost the biggest buying statement for consumers. Like, you can watch every Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and Fox content anywhere on the planet and in space, if you can get internet connection there.
I'll be curious to see if they actually, because some of their content probably is subject to prior agreements. I'll be curious to see, like, do they have a different catalog in certain areas of the world? And then also, do they have a different catalog because of governments who might have certain restrictions on content?
Okay, yeah.
Because, like Netflix has to play ball like that. I'll be curious to see how Disney gets around it. Just real quick, while we were sort of transition out of this, obviously the Apple keynote is going to be starting here in about 7 minutes, but I think we can just keep talking about some other news. Other things. I do want to shout out, we did get some super chats. Skizzy1 sent over a couple bucks, and
what's up, Skizzy?
Skizzy1, that was really awesome of you. And John O'Shea kicked over a super chat, and he would like to know, who is your favorite MCU character? You can only pick one.
Oh, MCU, so not Marvel. Huh.
Because I was almost like, oh wait, he's not in the MCU.
Yeah, me too. It's probably an X-Men, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
But I keep. Oh, I'll tell you my favorite Marvel character. I keep coming back. I've just always enjoyed the weird, funky, various permutations of Venom. He's just always been my favorite Punisher style, lethal protector, dark comic because he's just weird and funny.
Did you watch the movie?
Yeah, I saw the movie.
Did you enjoy it?
It was okay.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought Tom Hardy did a fantastic job as Venom.
I thought the cast was great. There are just some story and some structure issues, and it's part of Venom. I still feel needs to live in a Spider-Man universe.
Oh no, I do agree.
I feel like you just lose some of the rage heart of a character like Venom when both Eddie Brock and the symbiote don't have Peter Parker to hate. When you lose that, then there's just like a very core motivating feature of the character that it's not the same. But because of the success of Into the Spider-Verse and the surprising success of Venom, I would love to see,
Venom Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, with Miles.
With Miles,
Morales. You've got New York and San Francisco. Like something could be done there. I don't know how you make that work. The rated R side of Sony and Spider-Man and the sort of PG-13 side of Sony and Spider-Man, but I would love to see those two. But I'm sorry, we're not even answering the question here.
Yeah, sorry. Somebody said Mr. Clappert says Enobong's is Black Panther. No.
That's racist.
No, it's never that. My favorite MCU character is Thor.
Really?
Really? Because it's easy for me to say Robert Downey Jr. because he really plays that role well. But I thought Chris Hemsworth played Thor. It's just that the movies didn't hit Thor right. And then when I finally saw Thor get his Odin powers in Infinity War, I was like, this is the summation of Thor. Like, it took us a long time to get here. But I always felt that he at least got a lot of Thor's characteristics down. And anytime he came on scene, it was almost like, you've seen the memes now when they always show when you're doing a raid with your fellow gamers and you get your ass kicked and your overpowered friend comes in and Thor comes and just basically wipes everybody out. Like, that is, to me, that's Thor. So I really like that character in the MCU. How about you?
This is tough because there are some really solid characters. I feel like they've done a very good job of translating, like a character like Vision, who's always just been supporting. They'll probably never do a Vision film. I like what they've done with that. But again, because of my penchant for Spider-Man, I think I like Tom Holland's Peter Parker being a kid and being sort of the beating heart of the MCU now. Like, I care about him way more than I care about any of the other sort of newer entrants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Homecoming is such a phenomenal hero story that you watch him sort of struggle at being a boy, and at the end of the film he's becoming a man. Like, that type of hero journey to me really resonates. And then also you always sort of define a hero by his villains, and damned if they didn't just blow that up with Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Just still now, I think, one of the best villains that we've seen in the MCU, for sort of blurring the lines between what's correct and what's fair. And so, yeah, I think I'd probably land on those two right now, just as being some of my favorite characters in the MCU.
Oh, that's cool. It's cool. I dig that. You've got some more super chats.
Yeah, we just got. I was like, okay, we'll turn this into the Enobong in one audio advice story. All right, this is from LeBaron Burton. $250. You have to choose a set of headphones that you have to live exclusively with for the next year. What would they be? Doesn't matter what type, go.
Oh, shoot. I just forgot the model number. Can I give you 2 headphones in that category or just 1?
Sophie's choice, man. He said you have to choose a set of headphones. So I'm going to hold you to 1.
Hold up a second. Hold up a second. Hold up a second.
Do you want me to go first so you can?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So if it's 1 pair of headphones that I have to live with for the whole year, I'm actually wearing them right now. These are my Mi Audio M6 Pros, and these are the ones that I showed off that have the custom molds. So a really decent pair of single driver in-ear monitors that are biologically sculpted to fit my skull come in just under $250. And I think at $250 I can also throw in the Bluetooth cable. So they come with a monitor cable for my recording hardware. They come with a phone cable with a microphone, and then I can pop them off and use them with a Bluetooth interface. And they cover everything pretty well. They're a little flat. They're not quite as juicy or as vibrant as some of those crazy KZs that I've been reviewing. But I don't trust those KZs when I need to do work. And I can wear these forever because they're molded and sculpted for my ears. So that would be my pick. I would say get yourself a set of custom molds and then wear some really, really good in-ear monitors, and 250 bones, really well served, healthier, happier listening, better for your hearing. And that's probably where I'd go.
All right, cool. Mine would be the DT1990 Pro from Bear Dynamics.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
They are now
I started on a pair of 770s.
It's $160, and you've got extra change to do whatever you want. You can actually you probably can't get a DAC with the extra amount of money, but
what's the impedance on those? Like, could you drive them off of like one of those little Bluetooth dealy bobs, like one of the Fios?
You probably could. I just can't remember what the impedance is on these.
But I mean, they're not like crazy, because my DT77 770s were the old 250 ohm.
Yeah, this is
So I needed like a crazy headphone amp to drive those.
So this is 250 ohms, but I still think you can drive.
It'd just be a little lean.
Yeah, just be a little lean, but you can. If you've got an LG phone, then you're good.
Oh, you're golden.
You're golden with that. On your PC, you can drive it as well. Most PCs now have built-in DACs anyway, especially if you had a desktop. But it's a solid pair. If you're gaming with this, they're absolutely fantastic. This is what Ninja uses. Not that because Ninja uses, but he actually uses something really good to game. And in terms of editing or doing any kind of work, it is really clean for that kind of stuff. So
I know you're always sitting there with your highlight clip of Ninja getting up to dance and flossing and getting
no.
in the background. Just, oh, Ninja, someday we will floss together.
No, sorry, I can't do it.
All right, let's get on to this other super chat and then let's get back into some news. Jabari Grace, this is an interestingly loaded question. I feel like there's some emotional baggage coming from Jabari on this question in the super chat. Will DC finally rise from the ashes of Marvel? That's dark. I didn't know that, unless you're talking about Infinity War and how everybody sort of got ashed because of Thanos. What do you think? What does a DC revival prospect look like for you?
I think in terms of box office and the combination of fan and critic fare, I think DC's already there in the terms of, other than Justice League, which we all know was just terrible. And even that too came from the fact that whether you like Snyder or not, that was not even his vision for the movie in the first place, because they just botched it. But Aquaman came out. It was fun. It wasn't perfect, but it made a lot of money. People liked it. Critics also were like, all right, this is good. And Shazam, trust me. I mean, if you don't like it, I will give you $10. That's how much I put on this movie.
This is on my stream, so I will not be verifying those. Put it out there. So.
I'm putting it out there because.
Now, what I would say is I would preface that by saying you have to watch the movie in some type of lie detector rig, so that we can verify
that it's
whether or
not.
not you liked it.
I'll put it this way. So I went with Sam to go see the movie. Sam was not. He saw the trailers. He's like, I'm still not convinced about the movie. Is a slow build. It's like those good old 80s flicks where it builds the heart of the story. So by the time you get to finale, it's not like it's a comic book movie. It's a finale. It's like the character has grown. That's almost how it was built like. But there was a certain
they learned their lesson from Superman, like actually showing us some growth in one film as opposed to just.
Yes. I mean, I'll put it that way. And I think also the difference there, though, is that there are more characters to play with that when you see it, because of who Shazam is, unlike Superman, it's much easier to build that story. He's a foster kid, so there's a lot more you can build with. But it really comes out very, very well. And but I'll tell you, there's a point where Sam was watching, he started laughing, he turned and was like, all right, they got me. This movie's good. I can't hate it anymore. Like literally through the movie went to that point. So I was like, okay, that's good. But yeah, I think they're on their way. We just have to see what the Joker movie is like, which is very interesting that they're doing one-offs. You know, in terms of, but I do like the idea now, though. I think you can do that for villains. If you did that for a specific villain and call it quits, it's almost like and make it very noir style. I think it just creates a very different perspective for what you want to do.
So I like the idea of them actually trying to get away from some sort of monster continuous cinematic universe. I think they, again, talking about companies going about it backwards, like we were talking about Google, I think their main strategy just was way too abbreviated for getting people into episodic content like that. So on the whole, I'm very happy to see them go back to, I mean, if it means I get another standalone Wonder Woman film, if it means that, you know, Aquaman was cotton candy, it was totally disposable, but it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, especially for all the jokes that we tell about Aquaman as a character. Those types of successes, I hope they learn the right lessons from. I still need a Flash film. I need a Flash film that's bright and happy and vibrant, not dark and gritty and kill my parents, because that's what Batman is for. Like, and I would love to see a return to Batman as a detective stories. Like, I still think you could do an amazing standalone Batman film with, you know, if you wanted it to be higher profile, you could use a character like the Riddler and make it like Seven. Gotham is terrified by this horrible individual, serial killer style individual who's committing these crimes and leaving these ridiculous clues. I mean, like, you could do something dark and gritty and a bit more grounded and realistic, but don't make it, you know, armies are fighting and the entire country is under siege and Batman will save the day, because that's not the kind of character Batman really is. I don't think we win if we keep making Batman bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, I'd love to see something small and intimate and more of a psychological thriller than like a huge urban combat film. So those are the types of things that I worry about. Is, will DC and Warner Brothers, will they learn the right lessons from some of these successes? And there, I still feel like we have every opportunity for them to still drop the ball. But when you see Aquaman and you see Shazam, you see some of those ideas percolating where a superhero film can be an adventure film. A superhero film can be a coming of age story. A superhero film could be an empowering moment for a woman to stand up. Those are the little glimmers of hope that I have with DC characters, because you have a pantheon of gods. You can do something really interesting there.
No, I do agree. Just to add one more thing. I think they are, just from the fact that if you look at each of those movies, for instance, Shazam, the budget is 80 million. They took the Deadpool approach and said smaller. You could probably notice, you know, where they went a little cheaper in certain parts, but because they focus more on the story, you were like, whatever, I don't care. You know, it still works.
Like, Batman should never be $200 million epic blockbuster. Batman should be your go-to character for a tight, lean, on the rails, you know, suspense thriller.
Yeah,
You know,
and then you have the director of Batman saying that he wants to make a detective story, a little Noir style, in that range. So I'm going, okay, that's that. Wonder Woman director came out and said this is not necessarily a sequel, but another Wonder Woman story. So it's almost like we're doing these time jumps, and it's in the 80s, and that's the story it's going to be. It's still connected in the world. It doesn't really have to matter, but this is where she was in 1984,
right.
and I think that's the thing that takes it to that point. And then we have Suicide Squad getting a James Gunn reboot on there, and we have Birds of Prey, which is filming.
Now, how do you think Suicide Squad's going to do now that Disney has also said that James Gunn is going to be returning for Guardians?
So it's official. Guardians is filming 2021.
Oh, okay. So we're still a ways out.
Yes, Suicide Squad starts filming this year, which is why they immediately started retooling the cast. What's his name again? Idris Elba is now taking over from Will Smith's role because Will Smith is busy. And then also you have, so that's an improvement on like Will Smith was great. Idris Elba is also a great improvement. So it's a win-win. Margot Robbie is coming back.
Will Smith is way overbooked on doing all of his YouTubing. Can't do.
Oh no, he's shooting Bad Boys in another movie, I think, this year.
No, I'm pretty sure it's all just the YouTube.
Yeah.
Another rewind for 2021. So.
And then you've got Birds of Prey that has Black Mask as the villain coming out as well. So there's a lot of focus on very distinct characters, and I just want to see, like you said, a Flash movie. I want a Superman movie, and I want them to slowly build their worlds. And what you will notice is that each of these movies is building their own universe within it. Aquaman did that, a very big, elaborate ocean universe. When you watch Shazam, it is very much in the DCEU, but it has its own big universe as well. And I think they will do that as they move along, so that they don't necessarily have to come as a Justice League. But when they do come, it means that the stakes truly are much higher, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just something that Superman can deal with, or Flash can deal with, or Shazam or Wonder Woman. It really takes all of us in a sense. So it should be cool. And Apple has started their event.
Yeah, I just pulled up sort of a live blog on this. It looks like they kicked off with Apple News. And this, again, it makes me very nervous when Apple is trying to corner the market and monetize an aggregation service.
Mm-hmm.
So like what Apple News is going to do is going to be more of the cultivated style of linking and delivery and charging for this content. But I don't know, it makes me a little nervous when it's in one bucket, when it's in one company's hands to vet and to verify and to monetize that traffic. I feel like, for the few, I only have like 2 or 3 news subscriptions that I actually do pay for. And then of course, like I always kick money to like a KCRW and NPR during their membership drives. I think I'll probably be keeping that separate.
There's one thing I don't like. I don't like to pay for news.
Well, I like to pay for organizations, so like I like giving money to KCRW here in Southern California because I think they do a great job with content, with entertainment, with music, and with news. So I feel like being a KCRW member is fun because they cover all of that. And I do, not a lot. Maybe it might be $5 a year or something like that. But I like to send money to NPR too. I have a harder time with that looking at Apple as a news aggregation service.
Yeah. Just for you, so you guys know, I have it on my other box, just playing, so you guys can see. And I mean, right now it's showcasing a lot of magazines. So it's a magazine subscription service.
At launch, 300 magazines will be included. So now they're going to try and be the Netflix of magazines. Okay. Is that how we're going to be talking about stuff for like the next 5 years? This is the Netflix of gaming. This is the Netflix of TV. This is the Netflix of magazines.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not excited. Just this, I'm not excited just because I've even stopped looking at magazines for a while now. So,
well, because I feel like the way that I like to consume editorial and the way that I like to consume media has become more online focused. And I know it's not always good for me to just like troll through Reddit for links and social news. Like that's definitely a compromise, a compromise too. But this type of, we're going to give you a digital version of this magazine. Why wouldn't I just subscribe to the magazines a la carte? And so I get it, but the thing that makes me nervous is once you start making this the convenient aspect of
oh, sorry.
of distribution, is that, you know, it does look like it'll sort of kill the traditional publishing paradigm anyway. So I guess this is progress, but I feel like this is sort of a further Facebooking of media. You pour all of your infrastructure into a couple of baskets, and then you're beholden to whatever Apple or Facebook or any other distribution platform has decided.
I wish Flipboard did this thing right.
Yeah, that
I would have paid for somebody else other than anyone big to do this and call it a day. But I still won't pay for a subscription service for news anyway. That's just me.
Because it also, I mean, the way that they're showing it off right here during this stream looks a little also like they've learned some good lessons from Snap. You know,
in what sense?
The vertical positioning, it's formatted for your phone, little clips of video that scroll up through your feed as you're going through articles and stories. Like when Snap was actually trying to be some type of like news service or distribution service for other types of content beyond just your normal chat. A lot of the formatting for what they're showing off in this Apple service looks general. I mean, like, look at that. It's an animated National Geographic cover, right? So it's the cover of the magazine, and then you click on it, and then it starts like panning through a video shot with the cover art in place. Like that to me is a very Snap style service,
yeah.
Snap style look.
No, I mean this is where my problem is that they build good apps. I get it. That's fine.
They're really pretty.
I'm happy that it's very intuitive and it flows and I can go in, I've got all that stuff. But I mean, I want to ask this question to everyone out there. How many people
all right, just
read
real quick
magazines right now?
From LGH Dotmo, why is that guy dressed like a construction painter? It's dirty. So no, but seriously, in the live chat, how many of you folks are subscribed to
any magazine right now?
To any magazines? I'll type my answer in the live chat. I am subscribed to 3 magazines. Nope, none. Steve DeRoche, like I've said, magazines are not relevant. Sherrill, no magazines here. Bored at Work, subscribe to 0. None at all. Anymore, none. From Marcel Clapper, looks ugly with the big iPhone notch. Because that's what I need on my magazine is a giant unibrow.
Noel says I'm subscribed maybe to 10. Wow, you covered for the last 10 people.
Exactly, for everybody else. Excellent. Good job, Noel. Aditya Anil, what's a magazine? Taking off on that Apple, what's a computer?
LGH says what magazine replaced Hustler with Pornhub.
Dirty. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's but
sorry,
this is,
I did this window thing again.
No, it's fine. It's the how do I want to phrase this? It's the problems with an industry ignoring the change of how their consumers consume content, but I don't think that's going to be solved by getting in bed with Apple. Like this to me just now looks like another sort of news, like Google News, some sort of aggregate service, and that if that can help some of these publishing companies generate some extra revenue, I guess that's cool. But I don't like it when, So for example, Enobong, you've met Shaka, right?
Yeah.
At Fox, my producer at Fox.
Mhm.
So they generate much more interaction and click through and engagement through Facebook than they do from their website. But that also means they're now sort of beholden to playing a Facebook game, paying for Facebook advertising, for boosting posts, and they're not putting that effort and they're not putting that energy into their own distribution platform. So now they're a part of Facebook. And that's kind of the fear I have is if you start to see like, oh man, we're only really generating revenue off of Apple, off of this Apple magazine service, then you're stuck. I think you're at an evolutionary dead end and you will never be in control of your content. You will never be in control of your monetization. And then when Apple decides to make changes, demand a bigger cut, prioritize certain types of distribution over others, or just decide like, oh, well, we didn't like this article. Now, you're in violation of our terms of service. Now you're off of our platform. That to me is sort of the death of an industry.
No, I definitely agree. I think it's going to a point where I think what a lot of these magazine sites didn't learn is that they needed to not just be magazines. They needed to have an online platform. So take the way the web is now. Websites are coming back again, right? Websites have become more streamlined, easier content to consume, and people are going back to reading off different sites. There's a reason why. I'll give you an example. There's a reason why Mobile Nations, which is a big website conglomerate that runs, they own Techno Buffalo now. They own, the Mr. Mobile is part of them. Android Authority. All those guys were bought up by another bigger publication recently, because they do a really good job. And if you go to, like, say, Windows Central, if you look at the way news is there, I go there for my Windows news. It's long form, but it's very consumable. And I'm like, oh, I get what you're talking about. I'm in and out. And I think a lot of these magazines didn't realize that you can expand away from that. You don't have to just be a magazine. You can expand from that content where, car driver, right? I get it. They give me an extensive review on the car. But why can't I get snippets on this guy using this car? Because they'd used the car for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Why can't I get like a snippet from him? It's like, you know what? Week one using the brand new Mustang. Man, I went on the desert drive. It was this. There's more still coming. My full review is going to be coming down, but it gets me excited to check that out if I like cars. I would definitely go back there for that.
I love that you brought up cars, because I used to have both subscriptions to Car and Driver and Motor Trend, and they've always done that thing of like just sort of dabbling and playing and dipping their toe into other media. Like, why not do, hey, we've got the new Mustang, let's do a series of vlogs on it from the Mustang. Like those types of things, like really embracing where their audiences might be coming from, where they're going to interact with this content. And like, was it Motor Trend that was doing that sort of gimmicky head to head? Like, oh, we'll put the Corvette against the Camaro and see which one wins in this track. And you're like, the video was fun. I mean, it was well shot, and it was sort of a rip-off style of like classic. I've already forgotten the Grand Tour.
The original show. I know.
Yeah. I've already forgotten what that is.
We've all forgotten. It should be the biggest show on the planet, by the way.
Yeah. And now I can't remember the name of it. But that's really going to bother me. My brain leaking like a sieve. But Top Gear. Thank you, LGH Doma.
Thank you.
So I've completely lost my train of thought by how rough that was. But it seemed to me like companies that were putting out that type of content, magazines, etc., completely missed the boat on their audiences changing. I wonder. Yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself at this point, but it looks just to say, it looks like they finally announced the cost. A family sharing monthly subscription for access to all of the included publications is going to be $9.99. So $10 a month, and you get 300 magazines.
And
I don't feel like this is the killer app for magazines.
And Wall Street Journal and LA Times.
That's not bad. Well, I haven't been super keen on LA Times of late, but I guess having a Wall Street Journal subscription, see, but doesn't that feel like cable TV?
Yeah,
right?
it does.
I don't feel like this is innovation, and again, this from the industry's perspective and from what Apple is bringing to the table. This doesn't feel like we've solved a problem. Instead, it just looks like we're replicating another business model and we're sort of stapling it to an industry that's not doing so well right now.
So this stat is very interesting. Apple Pay used in 70% of US and 80% of Canada. I find that to be highly false.
Can we cite some sources on Apple Pay?
I'm using my experience in New York, where in New York, unless I'm going to a store, mind you, the CVS's don't even accept that. By the way,
Yeah,
there is no Apple Pay there, and that's sorry, that's Dwayne Reed across New York City. Let alone, unless I'm going to like Macy's or something, it's really not there. It's not available. So I'm not even saying that I'm not dissing them because they're still number one. I use Samsung Pay just because MSST or whatever that thing that does the magnetic strip.
Yeah, I used to have the magnet strip.
Yeah. That just works everywhere, completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think our CVS is just updated with tap and pay functionality, and I think that supports both Apple Pay and Google Pay. I might have that wrong. They might not have. But we're still struggling to get chip readers working around Southern California. Like there are so many places you go shopping and like you still have to ask, do I swipe or do I chip? And they have the kiosks set up so that they have the chip readers, but they're just not activating them yet.
Okay, so they just announced Ventra card, which is similar to what they have in Japan. This will do your it will do your Subway. What? Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's like, isn't this remember when Google Wallet had its own credit card because no one would accept Google Wallet tap and pay?
Yeah.
So now we've got an Apple Pay card.
Yeah.
Progress.
What is this? What is this?
Please tell me that this is not what this really is. Please tell me.
No fees, low rates, clear rewards. Motherfuckers, don't do this.
Well, and there was our one F-bomb for PG-13.
Sorry.
So
no,
that's fine. We're allowed one. So
why is this news? I'm about to go on Twitter here for a second. Please continue, but
no worries. So what is it? We got application processes, fees, interest rates, rewards programs. Apparently, Apple is going to fix all of the problems because it's been so confusing to use cards and stuff. My Twitter feed isn't talking about this. I mean, they're still sort of venting about how underwhelming Apple News has been.
Design 5 is a I'm not going to swear. Sorry. It's a. Can I use the words from Battlestar Galactica?
That's totally fine. I'm
okay. It's a fracking credit card.
Yeah. No, it's a payment and services card, and again, that's sort of in keeping with Apple looking at how do you insert yourself into every interaction on a consumer's phone. So you buy your iPhone. I've got my iPhone right here, and this is $1,000, and I can't use headphones with it, so I had to spend another $10, and I have Apple Care on it, so that's another monthly subscription. And if I were using Apple Music, that would be another monthly subscription, and then I could spend another $10 a month for sort of a cultivated news list of links that most of which I could probably get online for free if I just set up my own RSS reader. And now to complement my ecosystem and my lifestyle, I can sign up for an Apple credit card. This doesn't really feel like it's fixed any of my issues. It just feels like it's
No, I mean, she's
added
talking,
another middleman into all of the current issues that I still have.
yeah, she's talking about how this fixes your, you have online support with, iMessage and all that. I'm like,
I don't care about that.
I was like, your card is financed by a bank, not you.
Yeah. Well, and also I really like the credit union I do business with, and they have an amazing customer support chat and phone service that I can contact anywhere. I was in China and I was working out issues with my banking through the firewall thanks to a VPN. But like I'm not lacking for good interactions. I mean, if you have a crappy bank, stop doing business with crappy banks and find a credit union. But we've got this stuff already.
So it organizes your purchases for you. It does what American Express does or any other card.
You know what I always needed was an American Express that was even more fashionable and
I'm sorry to say though. I mean, I don't have an American Express, but I have seen friends' American Expresses, and there's a reason American Express is a card that a lot of people use in business because they don't mess around with that kind of organization whatsoever.
So someone brings up a good point. Someone brings up a good point. Is Apple's service here akin to something like what are there's Venmo, there's the Cash App.
No, it's not. It's a credit card. Venmo is not a credit card.
What I mean though is the attraction to something like Venmo is simplifying as a service. I mean, like the popularity of Venmo is I could wire you funds through my banking app
up to 1,000, yeah, or so.
But Venmo simplifies that interaction and puts a little social media spin on it, so it's more fun when I pay for lunch. Is Apple capable of piggybacking on that as a trend?
It's a credit card. I'll put it this way. Anything that applies interest rates that you have to pay for, and if you forget, yes, it may have reminders, but we know how we are as human beings with credit cards. It doesn't matter. A credit card is something you don't mess around with. I had my credit card issues, so I don't care who makes one. You have to pay attention to this stuff. It's not Venmo.
Oh, wow. No, I mean, you're right, because they are just trying to make a rewards. So you've got a daily cash the reward program. So it's basically just a cash back program.
Yeah.
And it does seem like this is a credit card where the killer app is that you can iMessage for your support. I think it looks like it's going to be built on MasterCard.
Yeah.
That's very disappointing. Sorry, this is terrible podcasting because I'm just letting the disappointment kind of wash over for a second.
I apologize, guys. Do you have any more questions? I'm just busy coughing here.
From Peter, have you seen Visa's new phone? Well, apparently it's not going to be a Visa phone. It's going to be a MasterCard phone. The credit card, you can iMessage from Sharil Abdul. Daily cash is going to be 3% of your purchases with no cap. I don't think that's better than what I'm currently doing on my Visa.
No, I mean, my Uber card is better. I use Uber a lot. Uber gives me some dope ass points. I wouldn't lie. And then they've also got, Amazon has one for Amazon purchases, which is just.
Yeah. The Amazon one I'm scared of because like I can always use that. Well, I'm justifying the purchase because then also the points and then also, you know, the affiliate fees, and this is all going to be better. And then I end up buying stuff I don't.
Yeah, I mean, but here's even the funny part with the Uber one. Uber and Lyft is if I use Lyft, I know Lyft has a card partner, but if I use Lyft, I would get points on the card, but I also get points to my JetBlue or my Delta as well.
I'm going to let this kind of play for a bit, but let's bounce out for just a couple other little news stories, and then we'll check back in with Apple, see what they're getting up to. Because I'm not. I hope they're saving something real special. But I fear what you're saying that they're just going to wrap it up with their TV streaming.
One quick thing that they quickly ran through: no late fees, no international fees, no transfer fees.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
Good. Again, I mean, that's kind of like taking Google, like Project Fi. So your banking is not limited regionally. You can open it up and you can use anything anywhere. That would be really
Warren
nice.
just said it is literally Simple Bank.
All right, we gotta let Apple go. Because your photographer friend much maligned the Nokia 9. I wanted to bring up this story here and have just kind of catch a little bit of your reaction to it. So if I go back into my screen share, this is from Android Central. How does a company like Nokia or OnePlus mistakenly collect user data and ship it off to a server in China? Written up by Jerry Hildenbrand. We recently got news over the last couple of days that the Nokia 7 Plus was sending user identifiable information to a remote server in China, and that this information was largely sent unencrypted from what I read on the various outlets that were covering the story. Enobong, did you catch up on the story? Did you read up on this at all?
Not too much, but when they said mistakenly, I just kind of laughed. I was like, I guess, man. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes, right?
Oops, didn't mean to.
I don't get this thing. I get it. Everybody is trying to. I mean, on the one hand, right? They understand the consumer fear. It's very real. It's like, why are you collecting my data and where you sending it to? I didn't even know about it. It's like I agreed to. On the other hand, we also know that there's a lot of, we're seeing this more and more even with US companies. I want us to also separate just the fact that it's going to China and realize that everybody does this on some weird level or another, right? Mm-hmm. We have the Facebook one where I'm sure, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence about, you talking about some product, not typing it in or using it, and then it shows up on your Instagram feed, right? I was talking to Saf on Facebook chat, and we're talking about, this is like a few weeks back, we're talking about an embargo time. And I was like, what time is it? And he's like, it's this time in London. And I was like, okay, what time is that? And I just typed in the time he stated. I didn't even finish it, and my Google search came up with the exact time that he stated in the conversation. So I'm like, okay, these motherfuckers, sorry.
Now we're rated R.
These guys are just like sniping us left and right. They literally are just cherry picking and choosing. So looking at this from this aspect, on the advertising side, you can say, okay, it's advertising. They're pushing stuff that we might be looking for, or at least we are vaguely interested, as opposed to somebody collecting my bank information or whatever information off my phone and penciling that out. There is no way that is a mistake, because a mistake would be them sending it to my email. That would be a mistake, not to some server out in China. It's something that was going to happen, and
HMD's reply, and I'm grossly oversimplifying it. They've published their own reply, and I'll try and make this link this in the show notes too. But essentially, it sounds like there was some sort of wire crossing in how, when they sell a phone for the Chinese market, there is very specific network activity that the Chinese government mandates for a phone that is sold in China, and that some of that networking and some of that communication was left in place on phones that were distributed to other regions. Again, their reply is more granular and probably more
okay. Now on that note, though, I can buy some of that, because we do know the Chinese government does collect data on its people. That is,
but my problem, and this is the same problem where I had to tag OnePlus, and like this was a OnePlus 3T, or was it OnePlus 5, where they had the same issue here too. To your point, Enobong, every manufacturer has some kind of user tracking service.
Yeah.
When you go through your terms of service and you agree to using the phone, one of the things that you're agreeing to, or that you can opt out of, is some sort of like device improvement program. Well, that's that they're tracking your behavior, they're tracking what's happening on your phone. But where I have way more trust for like a Samsung, or I mean like an LG, a Motorola, a BlackBerry, is that when that information is cultivated, that it's encrypted, it's not user identifiable when it makes it to some other hard drive, and that they're looking at trends in aggregate. That's the promise. I have a hard time, again, why is it that even if this networking and this infrastructure is in place on the Nokia 7, and like we saw with the OnePlus debacle too, why are you sending up user identifiable information unencrypted? And that to me becomes the big, oh no, don't do that.
Oh yeah, I do agree. Especially, you're right on that aspect that it was unencrypted. That is very annoying. And quickly, Apple is talking about gaming service. I just had to, yeah.
Oh, they're gonna do their own game streaming subscription.
No, so yes, live stream, nah.
All right, well, let's let some of that kind of percolate for a bit, because my Twitter feed is still catching up to the Apple Card announcement and people freaking out that it's Goldman Sachs. So
it's Goldman Sachs. Oh, okay.
While we let them figure out what they're going to add to gaming that hasn't already been added to gaming. But yeah, so sorry, short story long, Nokia, very disappointing, but also kind of in line with other companies like Blue went through something similar. I don't know HMD very well, so I hope that they have a good reply to this, but it's always dumb to me when you try and hide behind this was a mistake or we didn't intend for this to happen, but the core of your sharing was done unencrypted. At this point, everything needs to be locked down like that. This is getting silly.
Yeah, sorry. I'm listening to Apple, listening to you. I'm seeing Twitter feed. I'm getting really confused by this company. There's a physical card for the Apple Card, by the way. It has no credit card number.
That's what I'm saying. It's like Google Wallet, and it's just a one-time. It's a single-use hash system. So like every time you use it, it just comes up with a new hashed transaction.
Yeah, but what if like the swiping machine doesn't work?
Well, no.
Okay, let me give you an example of why that is so annoying. I went to Home Depot with Sam. We're doing a PC build, so we wanted to get some PVC pipes, right?
Sure.
We bought the stuff we needed. We went to the self-checkout line. I pulled out my credit card. I inserted the chip and pin, didn't work. The guy's like, okay, why don't you swipe? I swiped, it didn't work. We tried to punch the numbers, it didn't work. And Sam's like, try Samsung Pay. I'm not trying to advertise for them though. And we Samsung Pay, and it worked. But the fact that I was able to type my numbers in, I was able to use the chip and pin, and all these features made sense. This whole fancy titanium card crap, it's just,
but I think it's pretty clear, I mean, that you're just a big old Samsung fanboy, because I saw your video of it was a versus video, right? It was a head-to-head.
Apple Arcade is here.
Look at how quickly you changed the subject when I tried to pin you on your Samsung.
Oh, no, pin me back on my Samsung. I just wanted to tell people the name.
Apple Arcade, a subscription service for mobile, desktop, and living room. Oh no.
Mobile desktop?
For mobile, desktop, and living room. Because, you know, Macs definitely have a deficit when it comes to gaming. So if they can just move stuff to servers, that actually could be pretty big for people that want to game on their Macs. So now we just need to see, is this going to be like the Epic Game Store, or is this going to be more like Stadia?
Games that redefine games. What kind of statement is that?
This is going to be fun if I have you on here for covering both Stadia and Apple Arcade. The company is working with developers to develop brand new games that redefine games.
It's
I have to send a shout out of love and glory to Phil Nickinson as he's keeping a running Twitter thread of things Apple invented today. Today, Apple invented credit cards. Today, Apple invented the App Store. Oh, wait, they already invented the App Store. Please carry on. Today, Apple invented the magazine. Today, Apple. This is hilarious. Oh, I love Phil. Modern Dad is my favorite
Yeah.
property over at Mobile Nations.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm almost livid here because this is just a lot of foolishness going on right now.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got people saying like Apple Arcade, the first gaming subscription service for mobile, tablet, and desktop. But is it?
What on desktop am I playing here? I want to know.
Well, but that's just it. Is like right now we're still in that part of the Apple event, that Apple announcement where they're just patting themselves on the back for coming up with a cool name. We haven't actually made it to the particulars yet, and we're just waiting on.
This is not a Final Fantasy game I want to play.
So Aditya Anil on Twitter, Tim Apple is the CEO of the world's largest gaming platform in the world. That's hilarious. Oh, wow. I'm going to let this percolate for just a little bit more because I wanted to throw out just hold on, I have to pull this up here. Come on.
Quick one here from John Retchender says, your unique Apple Card information will be stored safely at Facebook servers. So no need to worry. I'm kidding, obviously.
Right. How sad is it though that someone like John even has to like put that? I am completely and totally joking. It's like every time I do that, I want to like preface it. Like I'll put out a tweet. My very next tweet will be a joke intended for satirical purposes and should not be taken seriously. Then tweet the joke. And at the end of that joke tweet, say, of course, the proceeding in this tweet was a joke. And then tweet after again. If you caught my last tweet, what was in that tweet was a work of satire and should not be taken seriously. And I'll still get people that are like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. You're so wrong. Let me tell you why I'm right. So real quick, while we're watching Apple invent the arcade, what did you think about the news on Disney Fox? 4,000 jobs are already on the chopping block, and
it was going to happen. I mean, it's very sad. But it's something that happens with this kind of mergers is, you know, does Fox own Fox Searchlight, or is that a separate company?
Oh, that I don't know. I actually haven't broken down what's moving to what, because I don't believe Disney's going to be picking up news. So I don't know if they're getting every Fox.
Oh no, Fox News is not part of the deal at all.
No.
Yeah. So the whole news spread was one, but the TV.
So I've got an article up here from IGN. Fox's TV division, FX and National Geographic channels, Star India, 30% of Hulu. It doesn't actually mention Fox Searchlight here in this article, so I don't know. Oh, it does say 21st Century Fox Film Assets. So it probably does include Searchlight then.
Yeah, okay. It makes sense because Fox 2000 is similar to Searchlight.
Right.
And Disney would keep Searchlight over, even though 2000 had some really good movies and good productions, but Searchlight was the one that did the most in terms of content and stuff like that. So for Disney, it's something they will have to cut certain things off. Same thing with producers. You know, one of the things I was hearing from a lot of the movie and entertainment YouTubers who are in that industry talking about how a lot of people are worried about what next. You know, it's one thing, you know, we all sit down here, we go like, yay, X-Men is coming back. But then the actors are going away. I mean, right now, the only X character that remains is Deadpool. That is the one that is going to be there because Ryan Reynolds has made himself, you know, a money magnet for stuff. You know, to the point of where, Professor X came out and said, you know, what's his name again? The actor who plays Professor X said he would love to play the Riddler in the new Batman movie.
Right.
That's letting you know that nothing is safe in other than the IPs themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing is necessarily safe within that whole framework. I think what you're going to look at is in the next 6 months, a lot of trimming down, which is why they said, there will be no new X-Men movies to at least 2020 is when you start hearing about that. And you're going to see a lot of reorganizing. So they got 30% of Hulu from, and I think now their share goes to 60% because they already owned ABC, which is also a co-owner of Hulu. So ABC also owned like, I think another 25 or 30. So they're at least 50 something percent of Hulu. So now that becomes another avenue. Maybe they push a lot of that content there too, but it's going to take them some time, and you're going to see a lot of loss of jobs and a very different focus because they already have their house in order. It's now trying to get this assimilated over. This happens with these kind of, especially a mega merger like this, you're going to have something lost. Since the government didn't force them to at least sell this off to someone. Like, hey, Warner Brothers, you can pick out something or something like that out of that,
It just makes me nervous. Disney is amoeba-ing its way through all of content and all of media, and they own way too much stuff. Super freaky. Okay, so a little bit more news on Apple Arcade. So we just kind of jump back and forth. It takes them way too long just to tell us what's going on with this stuff. So Apple Arcade is they're starting off with something like 100 individual titles. They're trying to also find ways of highlighting new gaming experiences, progressive developers, less commercially obvious games. And then it's going to sync that library between your phone, your Mac, and Apple TV, and that you can pick up and play between those three devices, and that there will be an offline component, so it won't just be a streaming service. So like, you really like this game, you were playing it over Wi-Fi, you could download it to your phone. It's going to live on your phone, so you're not just constantly streaming that game over LTE.
Yeah. Now they're talking about Apple TV.
Sorry. Last bit of news: Apple Arcade available this fall 2019. Looking at 150 countries, but with pricing details to come. So kind of like Stadia, though, where we don't know what the full lineup of games is going to look like, and we don't know how much the service is going to cost, and we don't know exactly when it's going to launch. And that's a hot piece of news. There are going to be endless YouTube reactions and editorials written on now the state of game streaming with no actual information or content yet. But I can tell Enobong is super lit up. He's going to be all about Apple Arcade. I can already feel it.
No, I was just reading something Warren was talking about Apple Card. Just because Warren is the one who helped me get my credit score up. He knows the credit card system like no tomorrow. Hey, look, it's just the truth. That's what it is.
No,
I don't like when people push out credit cards. It's just annoying to me because, there's a lot of fine print. Even though they say there's no this and there's no that, there's still a lot of fine print involved with financial stuff.
One important bullet note. So one last thing that I don't think it was very well defined during Apple Arcade: no ads or additional purchases. Do you think Apple is going to create a game streaming service that is not built on microtransactions? Because that's going to be a huge problem for Google if they're streaming a game and then you buy stuff in that game and then maybe that game leaves the platform. How do you handle loot?
It looks like it's focused on smaller developers, so there's a reason why Fortnite's not part of that.
Right. Well, and Epic.
Epic
is making way too much money to be like, yeah, I'll give 30% to Apple after they made such a big move to get out of Google's clutches and come up with their own app installer for Android.
So they're talking about Apple TV. You can pay for all the channels you want all in one app. It will include Spectrum, Hulu. Was it Time Warner? You can download.
I see Spectrum, DirecTV, Optimum.
Optimum, yes.
I don't know Optimum.
Says the
But
best picture and sound available.
that means nothing. I'm like I streaming on YouTube TV has been phenomenal, even for sporting events where they're getting hammered. The streams have been awesome. You'll pay for what you want, all in the same app. It's on demand and advertising free. Okay. Wi-Fi and offline viewing. Again, like what they did with magazines, this really just
Yeah.
feels a lot like another cable subscription service. This looks like
Isn't
YouTube
that
TV.
what I was complaining about earlier?
Yeah. And so premium channels, HBO, Stars, CBS All Access, Comedy Central, Epix, MTV, and then just a handful of other smaller players too. This feels just like YouTube TV. I don't know about what you guys are seeing. Like,
Yeah.
if you're trying to watch this like on, like I'm watching a couple different live blogs and then also looking through my Twitter feed. This is not generating any conversation. Like, people are still tweeting about Apple Card.
Apple TV, it's just
Yeah, this looks almost exactly like a YouTube TV clone. The goal is to make it available on all of your devices, just like my YouTube TV. From Gary Fleischner in the live chat, Optimum is Long Island's cable provider, and they suck.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, man.
Sorry, did you ask the question? I'm just spazzing out here with the stupidity of this press conference. But
so Sherrill is asking, Apple TV is just VOD. It's not quite VOD. I mean, it does seem like it will be a live streaming television or cable style service, but it doesn't look like it's going to be any much different from any. I mean, like, if you already have a cable subscription TV service, you can do all of this live streaming and location sharing and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, like, the CBS All Access inclusion is kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. It's curated nice, and they've done a good curation. But here's the thing, though. Hulu has a pretty good curation as well. Even only the app needs to be faster. So right now I have Hulu with no ads, integrated with HBO, and all the HBO movies and shows just show up in front of me. I don't have to actually search for them. I know that Insecure will be right there. They keep reminding me Game of Thrones is coming back up, just to let you know. And
don't
even
forget that the biggest show in the world is
coming. And by the way, I just wanted to throw this out there. Although I haven't been doing live streamings and stuff like that, I will be doing a weekly live stream after Game of Thrones. So join me on the channel for a midnight stream, because it's going to be late.
Right on. Here, let me just get this out of the way. I mean, they're walking out with these platitudes. When you subscribe to Showtime through Apple TV, everything is all in the same place. This doesn't feel like any kind of progress. It just feels like Apple inserting themselves in between you and the content you watch so that they can get a cut. Doesn't really make this any much easier. A couple other comments here from Waris Amir Mohammed. There it is. They're claiming no tracking. At least that's what's claimed from a Vlad Savov tweet. And then Sherrill, this is actually a good point, because I've been sitting here in front of YouTube TV. YouTube TV is US limited, though. So at least other people around the globe may get similar distribution with Apple.
So how is their curation going if there's no tracking? You got to track for curation.
Magic? You have Professor X, and he'll just read your brain, and there you go.
Recommendations that are personalized for me. You have to track to get that.
So Peter says, get only the channels you pay for. But I mean, I don't know if we're seeing any sort of content or licensing costs. So I don't know what that's going to cost.
I mean, what they're referring to about the channels you pay for is basically you, for whatever you pay for your subscription. Well, they're showing Aquaman trailer. It's great. Looks nice. Oh, there she's Queen. That's right. Baby Aquaman. Oh, come on, play the whole movie.
Let's just also, like, instead of the rest of this Apple keynote, let's just all. Oh, it's funny. Apparently, Hulu just sent out a mass blast of PR and emails that they're going to be announcing a whole bunch of changes to their TV service.
All right.
Yeah, someone just sent out their teaser image. Better starts here. Join us at Hulu 19 to see how we're making Hulu the #1 choice for TV.
Yeah, you know why?
Because Apple and Disney.
No, forget the Apple part. This is Disney saying this is our TV service that eventually will be bundled to Disney TV.
Yeah.
And because right now I can add Hulu with ads to my Spotify for $5.
Right. No, it would actually be really nice, is because Hulu is covered through Marie's work. So they cover our Hulu. It would be really nice if they would also sort of link all that together, and then we'd get our Disney streaming paid for by my wife's employer.
Oh my God.
I'll become the biggest Hulu fanboy then. It'll be great.
This is really painful.
So with all of this, because I was still expecting that Apple was going to talk a bit more about
original content
while we wait for Apple to show off that they're probably going to make like a new streaming stick or something like that. Did you catch the news on YouTube? Here, let me screen share again. YouTube to bow out of Hollywood arms race with Netflix and Amazon. They're actually going to be pulling their investments in glitzier original content and higher production grade content. So it looks like they're not going to try and fight Netflix and Amazon anymore.
Yeah, I saw the news. Wait 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. Here, I'll read part of this article here real fast. You look that up. The shift change, first reported last November by the Hollywood Reporter, means all YouTube shows will eventually air for free. The company is still working out release strategies for those shows. The shift also raises questions about the long-term future for Suzanne Daniels, YouTube's head of original production since 2015. She was brought in to boost the volume and quality of YouTube's original programming, is now looking to move on, according to people with knowledge of her thinking, which is an oddly phrased sentence from Bloomberg. While it's strangely flattering to be the topic of Hollywood gossip, please know I am committed to YouTube and can't wait to unveil our robust slate of new and returning originals. So YouTube has been facing an uphill battle, WB Roots, MTV. This is an article from Bloomberg, which sort of dances around all of these topics, but I think it's very interesting with YouTube's moves towards subscription services too, that they might be looking at gutting their paywall on more premium content.
Sorry, before I answer that quickly, Apple TV apps are coming to smart TVs. They just showed it on the Samsung TV.
Cool. It's just an app. I mean, none of this is like you need a stick for. I mean, like, seeing as how YouTube, Plex, Google Play, all of that's already baked into my TV.
Oh, it's going to Roku and Amazon Fire TV as well. They are desperate to go everywhere.
Yeah, but again, because Apple is looking at this, they're walking away from hardware being the determining monetary value.
Yeah.
So Apple TV as a piece of hardware doesn't make any sense when people really care about services. Everything Apple is doing is, again, they're going to make money by inserting themselves in between you and a service you were already using. So
okay, these people are not announcing price. Sorry. Let me answer the question because they're so slow.
Yeah, so YouTube, you had YouTube Red, you had YouTube Red Originals. They were trying to look at forming a sort of a media distribution service that could start to compete against Amazon. against Netflix. I had high hopes actually that Google would figure out how to be more of a studio, and it looks like in true Google fashion, they played with it for a couple years, they got bored with it, they couldn't become instantly successful, and now they're walking away. What do you think?
Oh, I'm actually even happy it's dead. Maybe they will just focus on their core content, because I think the article also stated they made $15 billion in ad revenue from YouTube alone. That's a lot of money that most people do not make. And they realize it's not worth it, because for you to do that kind of premium content, you have to spend, Netflix spends 12 billion, remember? So that $15 billion ad revenue becomes 3 billion, right? If you wanted to spend as much as those guys to do. So I think what they need to do is they need to go ahead and refocus that and say, how do we push our creators to become premium, where it doesn't cost us that much? Because here's one of the things that the algorithm is doing, this really funny thing is, if you watch one thing more than 3 times, it pushes more of that content. You know, if I start watching movie reactions, I get a ton of reaction guys. If I switch over and watch car stuff, then it's like I'm flooded. It does that too much. I don't want to be inundated with just that. But it also helps, sometimes it helps you find new stuff. So they have to find a balance there. And I was watching this creator. His name is, his content is rated for adults. His name is Big Jaw. He does really funny videos about like relationships and girlfriends, you know, those kind of skits right on there. And there's this guy who's based out in I think in Cali or in LA. Oh, they have Captain America on stage. I'm not on stage, sorry, in the crowd.
Cool.
But one of the things that I found interesting was that, you know, I started, researching more about all the people in the cast, right? And I was talking to Sam, I was like, oh, the girl, she's in school. And I think the way she stated it is like, she also works in the strip club and she's doing YouTube videos. I'm like, YouTube has become that way people escape and find paths for themselves.
Totally.
This is how YouTube can take this to the next level. These people are making content. They've got like 400,000 subscribers. Their videos hit 1 million each time. They are absolutely funny, right? Those are the kind of people you start looking at and saying, how do we help you push your creation better? Because the creation is really cheap. It's their apartment. They do real short skits. And I'm going, this is great. The storytelling is great. The camera work is great. They just need more funding, right?
Yeah.
A little bit more. That's how, to me, YouTube, they should look at something where you look at your creators at a certain level and go, if you get to this level, if you can make it to say 1 million, let's put it at a 1 million cap, then you're not just getting a YouTube manager. We are getting you a creation manager to say, how can we get your
well, we're going to send over a producer.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. How can we get your content to the next level? Producer looks at your content, we talk about ideas, and you go, hey, you know what? Just like what Facebook was trying to do, here's a budget for the year. You know, we're going to start you off small. We can give you $10,000, and you can see if you can apply it to a couple of projects you want to do. And that's how they will get better content out of that. And they don't have to create premium content. You now have stars, your YouTube stars, making really fun stuff that people are watching and people are sharing, because they have the creators. They just didn't know how to use them. And they thought they needed to craft movies. No, you needed the creators to craft what they know how to do best, because that's what people watch on YouTube. And they should hire me and you.
We give away way too much free. No, I just think it would be really interesting if YouTube could actually pull off this transition in a way where they're funding this. They're funding higher quality production. They're reaching out. They're finding audiences that way, and not just trying to replicate the Netflix paywall business model. Because especially the more I kind of scan through this Bloomberg, obviously there's like a huge disconnect. You have YouTube TV, which is basically cable TV. Then you have YouTube Red and YouTube Red Originals, which was trying to be like Netflix, which is funny because they're both red. But if you sort of walk away from that paywall style, and what you're saying, put funding into content creators, I seriously doubt PewDiePie gets a cut of that. No. Google doesn't really like that he's the #1 subscribed channel, or one of the top subscribed channels. But There's something really interesting there about the idea of we're paying for this, but we're really going to make it up on ad revenue. That's how we're still going to continue to make our money on that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the thing that they need to understand is that they've always had the creators. Apple is touting right now. I'm looking at this. I'm going, J.J. Abrams, M. Night Shyamalan, and all these directors. I get it, but Netflix didn't have to do this to give you good content, right? Disney doesn't have to mention it because Disney says we have IP.
Yeah, right.
Right? YouTube, your answer is we have the next generation of creators. They start here. They may go anywhere else, but they start here and it will always live here. That original content they made will always live here because we let them live here. But we're going to make lots of money off it, right?
Yeah.
So why not spend the money on your creators to do different things? Because to me, it's if I know YouTube is going to offer me 10,000 to create something, I'm going to bust my ass to get to 1 million subscribers just for that alone.
That'd be pretty hot.
Yeah. And then if you're telling me that if I get to 5 million subscribers, we push that to 50K or 100. And I'm like, whoo, man, let's get this on. And I'm like, guys, I want to create something really cool. I had this awesome idea and I want to make something that you would like. And I'm going to spend the time. I'm going to hire the crew. I'm going to make a cool video around tech that feels like a movie. And you know, that's what they should be doing. And they should, and because they've got every segment covered. It's funny because we're talking about this now, and Apple is showcasing this video reel.
Yeah, so we're moving on the Apple keynote. They're talking now from Apple TV to Apple TV Plus, which is exactly what you're talking about. Is they're basically just trotting out a bunch of famous people.
Yeah, they're trotting out famous people for original content, and we know this very well. Is that famous people don't make good content. That's not the issue. It's not whether you're famous. It's whether you can craft good content for us to watch. And did my camera die?
Yeah, you froze.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
And am I back?
So who have we seen on stage? So we've seen Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, Sofia Coppola. Who else am I seeing?
M. Night was on that video.
M. Night was in there. Yeah, I just saw a photo.
It's a very long video for content that I know they don't have yet.
Yeah, because I mean, have they been making things for these services, or are they just trying to link to the idea?
They've just started.
Yeah,
they just started. I think they just got Titi Wakiki. What's his like? I can't.
Yeah.
Thor 2 director to do something for them. But we'll just have to wait and see with this kind of stuff and what they actually showcase here. A lot of actors. It's supposed to instill confidence in something that. Again, if this happened before Netflix ever made anything, I would have been more confident. But Netflix has shown me that I can go and watch a Umbrella Academy and and be like, this is so dope. This is a very, very good show, and we just have to wait and see. And to me, I think this is where YouTube has an upper hand that they can apply.
Well, the big problem is what we've always talked about from a Google or from a Microsoft is, can they actually realize that potential? Because right now they've been dancing around how to be a regular cable distribution service, and they've been dancing around how to instantly become a Netflix style content creation service. And they've been doing everything they can to walk away from what made the YouTube brand a popular idea. And that's the long tail homegrown content that's on their servers. So that's the last key, is like, do I actually trust Google? Just with like Google Stadia, whatever flip it's called. Do I actually trust them to see what it is that they bring to the table and properly execute on it with focus so that they can refine it over time and come up with a service that I can't live without? And that's where I'm very skeptical of Google in this space right now.
I definitely agree. I think they just don't know what they want to do with YouTube. And to me, if I were them, this is where, if you are going to do anything with YouTube, and if you're going to do any premium content, what they should have done is use YouTube TV as a way to push that premium content out. Is if you've got key players that are making good content on YouTube, then you can also feature that and say, hey, look, because you have YouTube TV, you can also watch these cool YouTube series if you want to watch. Here's a nice, cool trailer. Add that in. But then again, I'm just wasting my breath here.
Well, and so Apple TV Plus, it looks like Steven Spielberg is teasing a revival of Amazing Stories. If you ever saw his 80s TV anthology series. So that's kind of cool.
I don't care. I absolutely don't. I'm sorry. I love Spielberg. I want to use a swear word because this is annoying me because I don't care. I don't care because you're not showing me content. Netflix is dropping 10 different shows.
No. So I thought you were going to do something else. So this is coming from Cheryl in our live chat too. The reason why I made a point out of interrupting you to talk about Spielberg is because what did Spielberg just recently, old man, wave his fist at for the Academy?
Netflix.
That's right. So here we are. You know, we've come full circle. So Netflix is bad. That takes away from the Hollywood movie-going experience. I don't think Netflix films should be considered for Academy Awards or for Emmys. Oh, but I'll be doing a new revival TV series on Apple TV Plus. Tune in this fall. Hypocrite! Wow.
Apple showing Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston on stage is not a show. I get it. You don't have content. You should have done this in the fall. You don't have content.
How much money? No, I'm serious. And I need all of you folks in the live chat. If I had like 10 million subscribers, I'd be like, super chat me how much money it would take to get Steven Spielberg. No, don't do that. How much money? How big of a wheelbarrow of a dump truck do you have to roll up to Steven Spielberg's house after he's already publicly condemned sources like Netflix and just keep dumping until he says, okay, yeah, I'll join Apple TV Plus? Or was he so critical of Netflix because he'd already inked deals with Apple? And so this was just his first foray at trying to tarnish the Netflix brand before he showed up on a different digital streaming service.
All right, not that much. He just gave him free creative control. He's got a percentage of cut, and you know, and he has a $200 million budget max. Apple wouldn't spend more than $100 million for Spielberg for whatever he wants to do, but $200 million. You can do whatever you want.
I just the timing on this is so deliciously hypocritical. I mean, this is just so bitter. It's phenomenal. I love seeing Spielberg having railed against Netflix now showing up for this. Just is the perfect. It's the perfect button. It's the perfect button for a service that I probably won't ever use.
Paid old man speech.
and again, just it would have been beautiful if he had like gone out there and railed against it. So I mean, we're probably not going to get any real information, it seems, on Apple TV Plus because I don't think they have anything to show us. When you have someone like Spielberg and all he does is go out there and talk about what he might do.
Yeah, same thing with Jennifer Aniston and
that we're still a long ways off until we can see what this actual production is going to look like. So while we sort of let the Apple stream sort of coast on its own for a little bit, I want to wrap up with just one more quick rundown. I'm trying to make it a part of every podcast, every Monday morning podcast, and that's to again throw a huge thank you to the community of people that are growing and supporting content creators over on the subreddit. The subreddit are Glowing Rectangles. Just a nice little home base for promoting new content creators, for finding channels that you feel deserve a little bit more attention. And I just want to do a quick rundown over the last week, the top stories, the top upvoted articles over on Glowing Rectangles. First up, Nothing But Tech 88. Spending some time with the Samsung Galaxy S10e, which I don't know about your thoughts, Enobong, but I still feel like this is probably the best of the three for the Galaxies. What do you think?
My
And
best
why am I
is
correct?
you are almost correct. I think at the end of 2019, the Galaxy S10e will probably be the best phone of the year, simply because of a couple of things. It packs a lot of what you find in every of the other Galaxy S10 devices, right? But when price comes to push and shove, you will pick up that phone on the holiday period for about $400.
Yeah. I mean, if you already didn't pick it up today on a BOGO.
Yeah. And it would be a sweet BOGO at maybe 500, and you get another one. So it's a deal of a phone, no matter how you look at it, because it packs in so much, a form factor that fits a lot of people more,
Yep.
and it's still a Galaxy. It doesn't feel cheaper.
Yeah, I'm seriously looking at the S10e as maybe the replacement for my mom's phone this year. So we'll have to see if she digs it. I'm a little frustrated with Samsung because I feel like the pricing on the S10 and the S10 Plus are actually
Too close?
no. I think they're cynical cash grabs. I don't think either of those phones are really worth what the retail pricing is, because they immediately launched with trade-ins and BOGOs, and we know that the prices are going to drop. And I feel like that's bordering on predatory, that Samsung knows a certain number of consumers will pay first price right at launch, retail price right at launch. They can extract wealth from them. And then
True, except
this is also, sorry, just the completion of this, because of the way that they're doing these crazy trade-in offers, as opposed to Apple, who limped in with terrible trade-in offers, is also kind of a shot at the resale market. Because let's say you bought early on a Galaxy S10 Plus, the phone's value is going to plummet. And then the best place for you to get a good trade-in deal, as opposed to going to like a reselling site, is to swap your phone again through Samsung in a year.
I mean, true. I see it for that, but for me, the other point I saw from Samsung was, this is also a way to thank Samsung consumers. It's an anniversary edition. The pricing is high, but the trading offers they gave $400 for an LG device.
Yep.
You can't find that anywhere.
But that's exactly it.
Yeah.
To me, this is sort of at the one point you can say, well, this is celebrating Samsung consumers, but to me, this is also a clear shot at a resale market, at a valuation for these devices, and that they're not really worth what the MSRP is suggesting they are. It's just that they know that they can squeeze a few suckers, and that most people are going to buy this phone for substantially less than what it was launched at.
Right.
And to me, that's sort of an anti-Apple, but still kind of consumer unfriendly approach for pricing, valuing, and selling a phone. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying like, oh, this is a deal breaker or don't do business with Samsung, but it leaves me feeling sort of unclean when I look at how Samsung has played this round with the S10.
Yeah, I do feel you on that one.
But also why I'm way more excited about the S10e than any of the other ones, because the S10e isn't playing the cynical price extraction game. It's a normal flagship price phone.
Actually, technically, I mean, yeah, you're right on the pricing of that. But if you did the pre-orders, it was $210 if you traded in your LG phone.
Right.
Which is great.
Still the same problems with the back end and the trade-ins and stuff like that. I feel like Samsung is playing a game with us there. And I feel like they're leveraging that to get you in the Samsung ecosystem. And then they get to control the pricing of any device that goes through their hands. Right? Once you're in the ecosystem, you're locked in. And Samsung wants that Apple-style lock-in. But the reason why I'm actually looking forward to an S10e as opposed to the regular S10 or the S10 Plus is because they went out and they said, well, this is the normal priced flagship phone, right? Apple made the 10R feel lesser than, in a way that Samsung hasn't, for their cheaper premium flagship phone.
Yeah.
And so when we're playing all of these dopey games with the psychology of our purchases, that feels like a better offering. That looks like a better offering, even though we also know that the value of that is going to plummet too. They're not asking for $1,000 up front for the value to then drop $400 or $500 when you try and resell that phone.
Yeah, sorry. As you said that, I just saw a tweet from someone. So Peter Pascal says, I think people have already said, but it's a tad weird. Apple isn't showing any clips or trailers of these shows at the Apple event. And then somebody responded, John Peterberg says, anyone else getting Fry Festival vibes here?
When I see Tim Cook using some mouthwash and some chapstick to potentially go and get people water, then I'll believe that this is Fire Festival. I have to believe they'll do better than that. Let me just do a quick, just wrap up the glowing rectangles. Also, one of the higher upvoted stories was my reply to the AirPods 2. I just put out a short editorial about why I won't be reviewing them, and also linking to some of my other stories on hearing health and how to use AirPods without them completely wrecking your hearing. I'd prefer most of the people that follow me not use these as headphones, but because they're for some reason popular, at least you can try and better safeguard your hearing. And then this is just a crazy bit of happenstance because Enobong's on the show. The S10 Plus 30-day review, one of the higher upvoted stories on Glowing Rectangle. So you guys made the cut this week.
Woo. Thank you very much, guys.
After my political soapboxing rant about why I'm twitchy about Samsung pricing on this stuff, you guys are one of the top 3 on Glowing Rectangles.
That's what you get for being all political.
Oh, just the fact that this podcast has probably already been demonetized on YouTube. I'm used to that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. They're still talking about TV shows, by the way.
Yeah, Apple's lost the plot for me. Real quick, your story was the 3rd place for the last week on our Glowing Rectangles. Tell me just a little bit about your experiences, what you guys covered in your 30-day review of the S10 Plus.
So a lot of that was just looking at day-to-day use, some of the things that we liked with the device and how it was comfortable to use. I think one of the things I mentioned a lot was I really enjoy using this. I like a larger phone. So even though the 10e is comfortable for me as well, it's not as comfortable as a 10 Plus, just for me size-wise. But there were a lot of things I liked with it, and there were a lot of improvements I saw come through. So like the fingerprint sensor was one where a lot of people were having issues early on. I didn't. And the updates actually made it faster and faster. I kind of referenced, and it's interesting though, because I saw a lot of people's reviews on the fingerprint sensor. They compared it to the optical, and I had a lot of people complain to me that I wasn't pressing it properly. I was too fast, different things like that. The fact that Samsung has quietly gone to 32-bit audio support instead of 24. I believe it was
interesting.
It's 32-bit now. And I noticed the audio was much improved from last year.
Do you know if they've been improving the amp output? Because that's always been the big.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I have to see what the amp output is, but it was. I mean, then again, I was using a set of monitors that is really good. That I think also does a really good job. But it did sound good. I was like, okay. Because I was using it, I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm really feeling this. And I just didn't think about it until I read the specs. I was like, oh,
there you go.
This actually helped. So things like that I did like with the device. I think for me, the things that really touched me in that I felt Samsung needs to work on is, one, they really need a dedicated night mode. Just because the
Pixel exists.
No, not even that anymore. Because the way the camera algorithm works right now, it doesn't compensate well enough. Because I think they have a better sensor than most people. I think the camera optics are good. I think the lenses they use are good. But I think the algorithm, because they just bought a company that does a lot of low light and algorithm photography like 2 months ago. So some people were like, it's going to come out S10. I was like, nah, that's a Galaxy Note. So I'm thinking that's something that they know they have to fix. But it would be nice to have an update in the next couple of months with something like that. You
Well,
know.
especially, I'm still holding out hope that the Note this year will adopt one of those newer half-inch sensors,
Aha.
which would be real nice.
Yeah, especially when you look at the rumors of Huawei, right? With
Hmm.
40 megapixel super spectrum.
Oh, the View. Let me tell you, the sensor is legit. I mean, what the View 20 is doing with that half-inch, not the 2/3 inch, not
Yeah.
the P30 or the Mate 20 sensor, but with the smaller 48 megapixel sensor on the View 20. Oh, this is good. This is a real good hardware improvement. So I'd love to see what Samsung can do with hardware like that. Add on maybe some better image stabilization, tweak some of the software, some of the output, return manual controls for video, which is dumb to get rid of.
Yeah.
So some stuff like that could be pretty sweet.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be interesting. I mean, I've heard some stuff about there. I mean, so I just want to see some of those improvements. I think overall, as a flagship device, it's really well polished all around. And the fact that the community, for whatever reason, even though the View 20 came out first, the adoption of hole punch wallpapers
Yeah, it really
just
took off.
took off, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's cool, man. I don't even care anymore. I'm good." Even I myself too, because I was looking at some of just my regular wallpapers on there, and for whatever reason, that hole punch like adds a weird dynamic to the screen wallpaper. You're like, "Huh, this is nice. It's weird. It
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
work,
funny.
but it does." You know.
It's funny, but it makes sense. And like when I first saw the Johnny 5 for the S10 Plus,
Plus, yeah,
and using those, I was like, okay, I get it. I still hate anything that touches or disrupts my display, but that's cute, and so I give you cute points. So good. So
yeah.
overall impressions have been positive, and you guys have been digging the S10 Plus.
Yeah, we've been digging it. And I mean, we're going to do 3 months, or as usual, we do 3, we do 6, we either do 9, or but we'll do a year after, because a Galaxy device is something that people look for throughout the whole year. So
Nice.
that's something we do. But I think it was a solid win for Samsung this year that they needed, just because last year felt very, refreshy, so to speak.
Yeah, it was Samsung in a holding pattern where I didn't feel the S9 was really that much different from the S8.
Yeah, except performance wise, which I think a lot of people caught on at the end of the year. The S9 performance stayed the same, which is something the S8 didn't do. The Note 8 was a little better, and with, I guess, whatever the Experience UI last year really changed everything, where you didn't have those typical Samsung slowdowns anymore, right?
Yeah.
They weren't there, and One UI has truly cleaned up a lot of things for it. So. Yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
Good. I'm glad to hear Samsung executing well, and also just congratulations on making the list on our glowing rectangles.
Thank you. I'm glad.
We're
I appreciate it, guys.
We're 300 strong on Reddit. No, but seriously, the exciting thing is always week to week seeing more interactions there, some people dropping more comments. I posted a video from Newegg talking about 5G, and I got some great comments there that we actually used in our live stream. And then also, it's just I really want to keep growing a platform or a community where we can help content creators sort of link farm. Not that I think this is going to be a top competing sub against an R Android or an R technology. It's more, can we help channels kick off and find some new audience, find some new eyeballs, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is to find it. You've got 5,000 subscribers, you've got 500 subscribers, you've got 50,000 subscribers. I don't think the YouTube algorithm is doing anyone any favors there. So you can try and help people find more community and more engagement. So reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. Drop some comments, share some content from creators that you care about, that you think deserve more attention. And then also don't be stingy with those upvotes. I had someone last week, he was like, "Oh, I don't see very many upvotes on all of these." And you're like, well, yeah. So upvote some stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see much participation. Well, yeah. Maybe participate. All right. So I think we can wrap this up. I was sort of stalling to see if we'd get any other hard news out of Apple on this. But right now they're talking about bringing Big Bird and Sesame
Oh,
Street.
somebody's singing.
Oh, great.
Um,
No, let's wrap this podcast up, man. I think we've waited for Apple long
no,
enough.
I just wanted to share it with people, man. I just want to share. Look at the piano right there, guys. Just look at
Oh,
the piano.
no.
She's singing.
Oh, no. Hold on. No, I'm sure she's awesome. And she's thanking the audience for their time. This is a terrible keynote. Oh, this is so bad.
This is
all right. Let's bounce out of this. Enobong, where can people find more information on the content you're producing and the stuff that you're making and your continued hatred of Nokia phones and Samsung fanboyism?
Yeah. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those social media channels. Sorry, they just sidetracked me here.
Look at all these names of famous people.
Yeah, not shows. People.
You just gotta walk away, dude. You just gotta shut it down.
Sorry.
They're not gonna give you what you think you want. So it's
all right. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It is Booredatwork, Booredatwork, where you will find my continued hatred for Nokia, even though I am one of the biggest Nokia fanboys out there, but whatever. And I want to say thank you very much for having me on the show. I enjoyed this. I guess we spent almost 3 hours together on this.
Yeah, this was a haul. I was really hoping this was going to be one of those like efficient Apple keynotes, and it seems like the less they have to talk about, the longer they take to do it.
Yeah, but thanks for having me on. This has been great. I've missed being on a live podcast. Because the weekly ended.
We had plans to do something else. We should talk about doing more of that.
A few people asked in the chat, just responding to them. I'm thinking of ways I would like to just do it as a podcast, or even maybe just host it on my website. Might be something. So
I'm with you. Anything we can do to diversify outside of just the YouTube tendrils. As soon as this is done, I'm going to rip the video and go put it up on Twitch too, just because I can.
Does Twitch allow multiple streams?
Not if you're a partner, but I'm not. So if you're a Twitch partner, or I forget what their creator tier is, then they want exclusivity over your first broadcast, and then after that you can rip it or cut a clip and then put it.
Oh no, not that. Can we do this on Twitch?
Yeah. No, I host my no YouTube. I only stream to YouTube.
Multiple people at the same time.
That's the problem is figuring out a good solution for bandwidth there, because what would work best didn't work for us this morning, and so that's why we only did the main broadcast on YouTube this week.
Okay, all right.
So some logistics to sort out, but there is a solution there, and we can find it. We just need to spend some time on it.
Quickly, this is from Marcel. Is the PureView your daily driver?
I was just going to say, from Marcel Clappert. Yep. The Nokia 9 has my SIM card in it. I've been using it like crazy. I posted a little clip on Patreon. I took it to the LA Zoo yesterday with my daughter. So I'm going to have some extra fun photos from that coming up. There's a lot that I like about that phone. But this afternoon, I'll have my 2-week what to expect from the device, not a review video, not a full review video. And you'll get a lot more info on what I think about where this experiment's currently at. So be on the lookout, probably around 6 o'clock Pacific time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to have that video out so you guys can check out what's working and what's absolutely not working on the Nokia 9 right now. But that's a good spot to wrap it up. That's the last bit of housekeeping I had, Marcel. So thank you for the perfect segue. Folks, thank you so much for joining this broadcast, going a little longer on this week's show, trying to talk about some Apple news in real time. It was a tricky logistics thing, so I'm glad you guys were all there to check it out. I'm going to have the full notes and the show links in the rundown after this this video sort of finishes processing. And again, thank you so much. Give Enobong a follow at Booredatwork across social media, on the YouTubes. Great channel, great content. And you can also upvote his content on our glowing rectangles on Reddit. So that's pretty special. It's very exciting. Folks, you know where you can catch me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitches. Where you might want to join me for a specific conversation, you can find me. And thank you so much, not only for those of you who are kicking us some super chats, because that's greatly appreciated for helping to promote the show and keeping us in the YouTube algorithm, but just joining this conversation as we deal with some tech and politics, as we deal with some tech and lifestyles, we try and cover a keynote. This is so much easier when we see a healthy and vibrant community and conversation joining that. And that makes it so much more fun for us to participate too. So I can't thank you enough for continuing to come back week after week and join these conversations. Folks, you know I'll be here next Monday morning on another Monday morning tech chat show. So I want you all to have a fantastic week. I want you to do awesome with your technology, to be awesome with your technology. And I'll catch you next week on another Monday morning tech chat show. Take care. I love you all.
Bye.